Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Lakendra Red Smith, the Health Sector Director of Project Transition under the leadership of Dr. Joaquin Wallace. We have here today Donovan Isom. He is our guest on our mental health and high-performing athletes interview series. Hello, Donovan. How are you?
It's nice. It's really good. It's good to be here, and I appreciate you interviewing me.
Oh, that's awesome. So if you don't mind, give us a little background about yourself.
I'm originally from Destrehan, Louisiana, outside of the New Orleans area. I went to Destrehan High School, graduated in 2014, signed my letter of intent to play college football at the University of Utah, and transferred to Southeastern, got my mass communications degree over there. And then I played my final years of college football at Texas Wesleyan, and I also earned my master's degree in education. And from that point on, I came out during the COVID year, which was really bad, but I was fortunate and blessed enough to have a pro day at Texas Tech University. I did really well, performed in front of 20 NFL scouts, but my journey took me out here to Europe, and I'm happily living out here. So I played in the German football league first for 2 years, and then I just played in the highest league this past season with the Berlin Thunder. I started quarterback for the Berlin Thunder this past year. It was really nice. So that's what I'm up to right now. I'm looking for another team to go to in the European League of Football, and we'll see what happens. Just kind of waiting on the call right now and training.
That's very, very nice. So do you have any aspirations to come back stateside to play professionally, or you just want to stay in Europe?
I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, I would love to take it. I just know that there's a lot that goes into that playing back home in the States. I'm open to anything, I'm never going to stop working. I'm going to just keep doing what I need to do. And if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take that opportunity.
Good deal. So you, in your collegiate career, attended 3 universities. So my question for you is, what factors did you consider to go to each one of those schools?
First, I'm not going to sit here and just be like, football was the only thing. I mean, obviously, when I left Utah, my family was in a very weird position with things. They lost their home, and I lost my grandmother's house, and it was a very difficult time for them, and my mom wasn't doing too well with things. So I decided to come closer to home to her. At the time, I thought that was the best thing for me to do in it. And I'm not saying that I would ever change it. I think it was good on her, that I moved closer to home to see her. I went to Southeastern, and the fact of the matter is that it just didn't pan out. It just didn't work out. My first year there, it was pretty nice. I started as a redshirt freshman for some games, but the rest of the years, it just didn't pan out. So the good thing that came out of it was that I got my bachelor's, and I had an opportunity to earn my master's degree from Texas Wesleyan, and then, I was on a full ride there. So I was on a full-ride scholarship, and I had another opportunity to showcase what I could do on the football field. So, it was a no-brainer. I still talk to those guys from Texas Wesleyan to this day. Yeah, Texas Wesleyan is probably one of the greatest blessings that I've ever had, though, by far. Because it literally led me to so many opportunities that I did not fathom. I did not know what was going to happen.
It's a good deal. So Texas Wesleyan, nobody knows where that school is. So it's interesting as you go from Pac-12 to the Southland Conference. So we're still Division I, and you decide that you're going to take your talents to an NAIA school who resurrected their football program. And you were very instrumental in resurrecting that program. So tell us about that process, what it's like to be this big-time football player, going into a program, building it from the ground up. Because if I'm not mistaken, y'all didn't even have a field on campus. I practiced 4 or 5 miles away from campus. It was something very unheard of.
It's actually interesting because I was looking to transfer somewhere, and at the time, somebody mentioned, Texas Wesleyan. I looked into the school, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I had my doubts about it. I was like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but after talking with the coaches, talking to Coach Berdone, Kyle Cox at the time, that was my offensive coordinator, Coach Dwayne, he's coaching at Norfolk State right now in D1. Yeah, Coach D. After talking with those guys, they made me feel like I was home. And again, they offered me to get my master's there. And I was like, shit, if y'all with it, I'm with it, then let's do it. And then I just seen it as a really great opportunity, again, to present my skills on the field, but also off the field too, though.
True, and honestly, I think it was the smallest school, but by far the largest market that you played in.
Yes.
to be quite
Exactly.
frank. That school's in Fort Worth, right?
Yes, right next to TCU. And again, like it's in the DFW area. So the reason why I say I think Texas Wesleyan was like the biggest blessing that I've ever had because, you know, it led me to cross paths with Des Bryant. I worked out with Patrick Mahomes one time and it led me to all of these opportunities that I would never thought about. I had more opportunities at this school than what I did in my previous schools, which was crazy. You know, again, like me working out when I did my NFL draft prep at Michael Johnson Performance, training with like guys like Jerry Jeudy, and you know, just me coming from this small school, you know, going through everything I went through to end up still doing all of this is like literally insane to me. And that's why I said like it was just the biggest blessing that could ever occur, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
What was the biggest obstacle you faced from a mental health standpoint during your athletic career, and what tools did you develop or use to overcome those obstacles?
You know, I sustained some injuries that actually kept me from playing the rest of my senior year because my first year at Wesleyan, I got all conference. And my senior year, I was going to go crazy. I almost threw for like almost 1,000 yards in 3 games. And then, I got hurt the 4th game of the year. It was crazy. It was wild. And I didn't get to finish. So I had to make sure my head was head on strong. It was very tough at first because I was like, dang, my career is about to be over with. But, you know, NFL scouts and people were still coming to the school to like see me and everything. It was pretty cool, you know? So I was like, okay, like I still got a chance to do what I need to do. And I got invited to a little NFL showcase to really show what I can do. And that's how kind of the opportunity led me to go to Europe because somebody from over there saw me and everything, you know? Again, when everything was going on, they still wasn't taking like a certain amount of people to go into rookie mini camps and stuff, you know, during that time. When I was at Southeastern, I feel like that's when I was tested mentally, you know? I feel like, honestly, that at Southeastern, that's what made me into the man I am today. You know, because there was so much that I was enduring over there, you know, and I was battling for the QB job. Some coaches didn't think I was good enough to, you know, do what I needed to do, and it was mentally draining. I'm not gonna lie, it was, you know, mentally draining, but at the same time, I think it built me into the moments, you know, that comes later on, you know, in life. You know what I mean? So now that I'm older, I'm 29 years old. I look back at that and I'll be like, wow, this really shaped me into being the man I am today, you know, because I feel like you need to go through something to get to where you need to be. You know, my mom and my cousin Dwayne always told me something like that. You need to go through something to really build and grow yourself, you know? So, and now since I'm older now, like I kind of like, I see what they're talking about, you know? Like, again, like I feel like I'm a better man and a better, you know, just better at life because of like, well, you know, what I went through in college and everything.
Absolutely. Iron is forged in the fire, right? So we know you overcame some obstacles. We heard something about a roster spot, but let's set the scene. You're a big Pac-12 transfer from FBS down to the FCS series. You're at Southeastern, and the next thing you know, there comes this transfer in from South Carolina. And you're going into the season as QB1, and the next thing you know, all of a sudden, you're not QB1. Let's run through that process. Like, what really happened?
It's actually funny. This is like one of the things I was talking about. So going into the spring, I knew the quarterback job was going to be open, and I was like, okay, like this is my time to really take this in and like really establish myself as the best quarterback. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but this is the time to do it. Like this is my opportunity. I just remember, you know, Lorenzo came in the spring. We was battling. He was switching from ones. I was getting 2 reps, and like he started off getting the 1 reps actually, but then like I kept like fighting and getting better every day. But there will be some times I feel like coach was testing me because like every time I made a mistake, like I would have a great practice, and then as soon as when we have our scrimmages, like on Saturdays, we'll have a scrimmage. So we'll have spring ball practices. I was killing it, and then during the spring, like scrimmages, like I would make a mistake or something like that. I wouldn't do something that my coach wouldn't like, and he just pulled me out of there. And like I didn't get back in the rest of the scrimmage, and I'm like, bro, is this really how my junior year is about to go? I'm just like, you know what? I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna just keep fighting. I'm gonna just keep doing what I need to do. And then finally, you know, the same thing happened the following week. Like I did well, made sure I protected the ball, and I think I did something crazy. Like I ran out of bounds for something, took me out of there, then put me back in. And I was like, this is wild right now. So the spring game comes, I think I put on my best performance. Not think, I know I did. It actually earned me to be the starter going into fall camp. So I was a starter for fall. I was like during the summer, I was leading our workouts. Again, like I think like, you know, I had supported from like all parties. You know, it was looking pretty promising that I was going to be a starter going into the year. And then fall camp came, you know, I had a great week. great practices. Again, like we was running like a triple option out of the spread, you know, and I'm a big guy, you know what I'm saying? And like we was, not saying I can't run, but I was doing what I needed to do. And I think we was throwing a little bit more with me than Lorenzo. That was my natural thing though. Like I'll be able to throw the ball. I think when Lorenzo won like one scrimmage in fall camp, he had a really good scrimmage and yeah, that was it. They made him the starter. And I was like, wow, like at the time, like it really hurt. Like it really, I'm not gonna lie, it really changed the way I kind of looked at football because I just couldn't believe it. I just like really was just sitting there and I was just like, what just happened? Because like I felt like I was doing so well with everything. And, you know, I wasn't gonna be the teammate that was gonna be like, you know, either I could have been pouting about it or, you know, I could have been supportive. And that's what I did. I tried to support my teammates in the best way I could. And like I wanted to be supportive of him. And, you know, me and my coaches still got along. Like I said, I was always supportive of my teammates, no matter if I was a starter or no matter if I was playing out there with them. You know, I'm always gonna be that guy that's still supporting because that's what, you know, a good teammate's supposed to do. And that's the way you want to keep the morale up. It's bigger than me.
Good deal. Kudos to you for being able to maintain those relationships. I think, I'm not mistaken, like one of the top 3 reasons that athletes, especially NCAA athletes, leave the school or transfer or just quit their sport altogether is player-coach conflict.
And I'm not going to say like it wasn't a conflict, and I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like at the time, you know, I'm not saying I wish it could have been different, but, you know, it's like things just happen. It happens, and like I said, I did what I needed to do, and I was supportive of my teammates, you know, so that was the biggest thing that I felt like I could have did for them at the time. And then I feel like, again, that moments and those moments build character in me to do what I'm doing now. I think it went a long way, and I think I needed that to happen to me.
I feel you. So typically, you know, I ask people what resources do they feel like they needed. But in your situations, at any school, it could be all of them, it could be one of them, doesn't matter. But let's not talk about the resources because sometimes you can't fix a problem that you just don't know exists, right? So do you even feel like your environments were conducive for you to be vulnerable to say, hey, I need some help in these regards? Because here it is, you've relocated from Utah back home for, you know, some challenging, you know, situations at home for your family. So we have that situation. And now we're compounding the situation because now we have a situation on the football team with the roster and what your expectations were playing wise versus and your career goals and aspirations versus the offensive coordinator.
I guess I really didn't know, but now looking back at it, it was a lot of stuff on me, you know? It was a lot that I was enduring, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I could have did more on like speaking up about like everything I was going through, because like I think I was afraid to speak up on like how I'm truly feeling about things, and I just kind of let things go the way they did, and maybe things would have been different if I would have said something. But then again, like I don't feel like I was in a comfortable situation to actually express everything that was going on. It's crazy because when I got to Wesleyan, I actually did it at Wesleyan, and I actually became a much better like person and a player because of it, you know, expressing like how I felt mentally, and my coaches were very understanding. And I'm not saying like the coaches at Southeastern wasn't. I just felt like I didn't know how to approach that to them, you know, but I just felt more comfortable at Wesleyan doing it, and it strided me to become the person I am right now.
That's really, really nice. And I think honestly, at least from my personal experiences, you know, once you have those bad moments, you get to the point where it's like, I know what not speaking up gets me. And it got me to, you know, those experiences and those challenges that I just overcame. So knowing what we know about mental health, knowing what we know about the athletic culture, when your coach gets up in a press conference and says, these guys are under the illusion that they have choices. As an athlete, what are the implications from a mental health perspective? You had all these resources at your disposal. Why didn't you do that? And the reality is, most of the time, they don't do those things because they don't think they have choices. They don't recognize that they have choices. Abuse and toxic cultures happen where conditioning is present.
Yeah.
And so it starts somewhere, and a lot of people recognize the end result. A lot of people don't recognize the beginning of where these elements and these processes begin. And then eventually you get to a point, if they persist, you end up with something bad. So really, I struggle in athletics, especially with the culture, because there's a lot of emphasis being placed on mental health, but it's like, okay, are we just picking the pieces that we like and disregarding everything else?
And to be honest with you, I'm not saying this happened with me, but that's how I kind of felt at Southeast. I'm not saying that it was going to happen, but I didn't know how they was going to react if I was to tell them like, hey, like this is what's going on in my life right now. I feel like I couldn't really explain that, and I don't know for what reason. I don't know why. I don't think they gave me any indication to why I couldn't do that, but it was just a feeling. And I feel like there are some areas in some schools where they do portray like, oh, we're big on mental health, like we're big on mental health awareness, but they really don't actually put the time in for it, and like they're just saying it to make it look good, but it's not like they're actually not taking those steps. And I do feel like they do have some schools like that, or some people that actually do that. There's definitely some people that do that. I don't think that's pretty fair. You make it vulnerable, to express, he's comfortable with you, and then it's another way around, and then it backfires, and it's like, oh, like why am I like doing this and doing that now,
I totally get what you're saying there. Just to clarify that, I've seen situations where, matter of fact, I will use me. I'm going into my sophomore year. I signed with the school, got there. I got brought into a meeting with the dean of students to say, hey, your softball coach is getting fired and we're bringing in this other chick. So I'm playing for this coach who did not hire me. Had a pretty good year my freshman year, my sophomore year. For whatever reason, like I know the stakes are high because at this point I'm in junior college. I'm trying to increase my stock, right? I go and have a conversation and it's like, hey, I'm nervous. Now, unbeknownst to me, I have anxiety, right? But I go to her and it's like, hey, I'm nervous. And that chick benched me. And that was the beginning of a very tumultuous year. Yeah, I got benched. That year was awful because we really didn't recover after that. Because now I can't trust you and I need help, but I don't have the resources to get the help. And the person who I thought I could confide in and help me, who should take on that responsibility, is not. And now my career is in jeopardy. Totally get that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So question, because you're playing overseas, and I think the average football player would probably just end their career collegiately. Nobody would take those steps. So what is that process like, and what's the biggest adjustment that you have to make playing overseas?
I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I first came out here, but I actually loved it. And I'll probably say the biggest difference, it was just the culture and the language, especially being out here in Berlin. I think it's the people are different, and it's in a good way. A lot of people do speak English out here, but it's not like to what they understand, I think that's the biggest like adjustment I have to make. But other than that, like I've grown to like love Germany, and especially in Berlin, it's really a cool place to be.
So what advice would you give to an athlete who wants to follow your footsteps? Like what are the things that they need to do to make the same career move that you did?
Well, first, they're going to need a passport, because that's like going to be the first thing that a coach is going to ask. Like, I don't care how talented you are. If like, you don't have a passport ready, then like they're just going to move on to the next person. It's all about if you're open enough. Because, we can take pride in ourselves and be like, hey, like, we can still try to make some leagues out here. But if it's not working out, if you still want to play ball, like, why not take the opportunity to go overseas, I even try to, like, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to mention who they are, but I even try to put some people that I know. And I told them, I was like, man, like, I told some of my friends, I was like, man, bro, overseas is great. Like, it's fun to live out here. Like, they taking care of you, and like, it's just like, it's amazing. Like, you get to live and potentially further after 6 months if you want to. They'll hook you up with a job out here. I tried to tell my buddies that. I was like, bro, y'all really need to like come see this. And they told me they was trying to like, they felt like they was too good for all of that. And like after 1 year, 2 years passed by, you getting a little older and like they still doing the same thing that they was doing. I tried to put them on. I was like, bro, like this is like, don't you want to tell your kids one day that you played in like, overseas, like in Europe? I think that's like one of the coolest things, but a lot of people don't really see it as that. And like, I think that honestly, that's another like mental thing. I feel like with me, I feel like adjusting was never really a big issue for me, but I feel like that could be for like some people though. Change is sometimes scary for some people,
And you're from the South, so realistically, change is very scary to most people in the South. I am curious, what are the adjustments you make? Because I'm really close to my family. I come from a large family, right? So really close to them. Just even being on the other side of Texas is like, this is too far, but you are across the pond. And so what stresses do you have as a result of being so distant from your family? Because you moved from Utah back to Louisiana for family.
Yeah. Me and my mom, we had a very big conversation. I know she always wanted this for me. She always wants the best for me, you know, and like I even had a conversation with my cousin Dwayne about this, and the best advice they gave me was like, you got to do what's best for you. Goes back to what I was saying before, even in college, like you literally have to do what's best for you in order to move up in this world. You know what I'm saying? Like in order for you to make yourself happy. Again, like I could just be at home. I could just be, you know, not really doing much. And like, I don't know. I mean, or I could just be, you know, doing what I want to do in life. I think that's the biggest confidence boost that they gave me. Is them being okay with me living my life. And I know that made them happy by seeing me doing the things I want to do. I think I'm the first person in my family to come to Europe. But like the biggest thing is like, you know, obviously I miss Thanksgiving. I mean, that'd be some things, but I'm going to see them for Christmas. And then usually, you know, when something bad happens in the family, you can't really be there, but you can only be there to support from afar away. But again, at the end of the day, like they all understand, like this is what I want to do in my life, and they're very supportive of that.
Nice. So we know you have family support, but whether it was in life or in athletics, what resources do you think, or do you wish you would have had that would have helped you over some of those mental challenges and psychosocial distressors?
Definitely, it's crazy. When I was at Utah, she was like a team mentalist coach. Never had that, like, because I didn't even really know about it in high school. Like, I just went through stuff in high school without even really knowing it. When I got to college and like, you know, they said, hey, like, you know, usually our athletes go talk to a mentalist coach, and it was very, very beneficial for me. I was like, I never like did this before. Like, it was so good. I think I kind of got away from that when I went to Southeastern, because I don't think we really had anybody like that over there. I don't even think it was even a big thing, like mental health. I don't even think mental health was a big thing when I was at Southeastern. I don't think it was. Not that I know of. I don't even really remember it. As far as resources go, like I had people to talk to at Wesleyan. Like it was a big impact on my growth. You know, I found out more about me as a person, and I think I wish I had just somebody to really like vent to and really explain, you know, to somebody professional what's going on with your life. And I feel like everybody needs that. You know, like this world is not the most perfect thing. You know, look at everything that's going on right now. You know, so I feel like everybody needs that in order to, you know, be sane with themselves and to really have a good head on their shoulders with things. I even was doing it up here in Berlin. Like we have a team psychologist. You know, she was awesome. You know, I talked to her. It was really beneficial for me, especially me playing a quarterback position. I feel like there's so much that goes on. Even though I'm out here in Europe, there's still like a lot that goes on and a lot that you still have to process. And especially with me still being over here, you know, it's always good to still talk to somebody and make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Good deal. So you won't be an athlete forever. So what are your goals for the future?
One day, hopefully, I'm gonna come back to the States, or I'm gonna be out here in Europe and I'm gonna be teaching and use my master's degree to start teaching.
Oh, that's nice. That is very nice.
I think that's the direction I'm gonna go in. We'll see when it gets closer to that point. But I think honestly though, I feel like, you know, teachers, they do really well out here. The educational system is different out here in Europe. So I can use what I learned at Wesleyan to use that and just spread knowledge across Europe, you know. So I think it'll be pretty fun.
Education is power. So we are going to wrap this thing on up. Do you have any good nuggets that you want to leave to the people?
First of all, I want to say follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is _ice_, and make sure to check on, you know, for upgrades and, you know, where I'm going to be going next in football and what else I'm going to be doing in life. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me. And I also just want to say mental health, mental awareness is a real thing. And please take care of yourselves and always check on somebody, you know, just to be there for somebody and make sure they're doing okay. It's very important, not just in sports, but just in life in general.
Well, there you have it. We want to thank Mr. Donovan Isom for joining us today, and you have a great day.
Yep, sounds good. See y'all.